Hi everyone. This is the second in a series of videos where I take a look at different game engines in an unscripted way and give my first impressions. Previously, I had taken a look at Godot, and it was fantastic to see the Godot community's response to that video. They're super helpful and welcoming, and I really appreciate it. So I'm excited to take a deeper look at that engine in the future. This time around, though, I'll be taking a look at Unreal Engine 5.3. And I'll be doing so without the aid of a lot of tutorials or any tutorials or documentation for the most part. And the reason that I'm doing that is just so that I can highlight certain areas that may be more or less intuitive to someone coming from a different background, like Unity. It's by no means the most efficient way of learning a new engine, so it's just another kind of take on it. So I downloaded Unreal Engine, and I did so from the Epic Games launcher. When you do that, you get an entry over here on the left, and there's some tabs up here, and you also have a launch button in the upper right. I'm also noticing a chevron to the right of that button. When I click on it, I can see the version of Unreal Engine that I've installed. So my guess on this is that it's maybe similar to the Unity Hub, where you can have different versions of the engine installed on the same PC. So if you had an old version of a project, or you had an old version of the engine like Unreal Engine 4, you could run that along with Unreal Engine 5. That would be my take on that. I'm also seeing these tabs here. So I've got news, samples, and marketplace, and some others. So the marketplace looks like the asset store. And just like the previous video, I'm not going to be using any assets. Just kind of start from scratch and see where I can get. All right, so let's do that. Let's hit the launch button. All right, now I'm in the Unreal Project browser, and I can see some settings related to my project over on the right here. It looks like I can choose between Blueprint or C++. I'm sort of loosely aware of what Blueprint is. It's some sort of domain-specific language or a visual programming system, but I am more familiar with C++, so I'll select that. I'm going to assume that you can interoperate between the two, so hopefully I can make a C++ project and then try out some blueprints in it. Under target platform, I will keep that at desktop, but it will be good to know if I have the option to go to mobile later in the same project. So if I select desktop here, will I be able to build for mobile later, and vice versa? Leave the quality setting or quality preset at its default. I'm not going to use any starter content because in the previous video I was at a blank slate, so I'm going to do that. Or I'm not going to use starter content. And likewise, I will leave this template on blank and maybe try some of those other templates later. Okay, I'll name the project. And let's get started. Okay, so it looks like the Unreal Editor is opening up. I believe it launched Visual Studio as well, unless I misclicked and did that myself, but we'll see what happens here. Oh, no, it does look like it launched Visual Studio asynchronously with this editor launching. So I've already got a solution file. And within that solution file, I'll kind of go over that as Unreal is launching. Engine, games, programs, rules, and visualizers. So I see it's games plural. So I'm wondering if that means that other game projects I create will show up in that directory. We'll have to see. It's also prompting me here, based on your solution, you might need to install extra components for a full development experience. Well, I certainly would like the full development experience. All right, desktop development with C++. Okay, so that's interesting. When I installed Visual Studio 2022, I did select the option for game development with Unreal. But interestingly, it looks like I needed to select desktop development with C++ as well. So, okay, well, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so it looks like my project is created, and I'm seeing some terrain here. So either I had misconfigured something about an empty project, or this is just a sample piece of terrain that they put in. We'll have to try that later. Okay, so let's see what we can figure out about this user interface. Over here on the right, it looks similar to some of the scene views in other tools like Unity and Godot, but just swapped over here. It's called the outliner. It lists all actors in the level by name, organized in a tree view. So just kind of parsing some of that text, I see actors, level, and there's a tree view. So I'm going to kind of be mentally translating from terms in other game engines to Unreal as I go. So an actor, my initial thought on that is either it's like a node in Godot or it's like a game object in Unity. I don't know if that's one-to-one because also there are, entities is a term and other things like that. So we'll see what that means, what actor means. And then level. So I'm wondering if their term for, a scene in Unity, for instance, is a level in Unreal. Here it says hold Control-Alt for more. Okay, for more details. Well, there you go. Does it before outliner panels? View details about the listed actors. Create folders to group related actors together. Drag and drop actors on top of another actor to give them a parent-child relationship. When you move, rotate, or scale a parent actor, its children follow too. Okay, so that does seem like a node in Godot or a game object in Unity, and we'll see if that holds true. So I do have some actors and folders already, okay, so what's in here? Okay, so this kind of navigates to, it looks like something like a level of detail. And there, when I click on it, it's some maybe subset of the terrain. Yeah, it looks like a subset of the terrain, possibly. Let's find out by deleting it. And I zoom out in the same manner, sort of. Okay, so right mouse kind of orients you, and yeah, that's fine. What if I delete this? Duplicate, edit, delete. Didn't seem to do much. Okay, that's interesting. Let me do an undo here. Okay, so when I deleted the folder, the contents of it, which are, let me open this. Can I open the, oh, I see, I selected one of them. Okay, so I selected some sort of subset of that terrain. What if I delete, this? Edit, delete, place actor. Oh yeah, edit, delete. I'll just use this shortcut from now on. Okay, there we go. That's what I expected. Part of the terrain went away. Okay, so they're called, oh, that's the landscape. And then I've got this world partition thing here. So probably what I needed to do if I wanted to remove the, like, let's say the entire landscape, is just to do that, is to delete this. I don't know if this is a folder. It looks like it has a different icon. So Maybe it's an actor. Is everything here an actor? Is a folder an actor? Maybe. All right, so we will delete that, whatever it's called. Cannot delete landscape. Okay, so maybe that's a required part of a project. Also, I'm noticing this red, I'm presuming an error or warning. 62 actors with physical materials need to be rebuilt. Disable all screen messages to suppress. So I'm not sure where to set that. That would be, it'd be nice if they had maybe like a link or something. But I will not rebuild it. All right, so before I go any further in destroying what's in here, I'm going to press the play button. Play this level in the active level editor viewport. Okay, so I got a new term, viewport. Okay, so I am in a view, a new view, that appears to me to be similar to the game view in Unity. I can actually... Oh, it appears as though I have a first-person controller. So I'm able to do mouse look. I'm able to use WASD for movement. Can I jump? I can... Space? Space is like a jetpack. Okay. I'm wondering if I had sort of accidentally added a first-person controller to this thing. Ooh, that's sort of vibrating. So let's try to figure out why I was able to do to move around like that. Kind of drawn to this player start. Has a little icon that looks like a game controller. So let's take a look at that. And player start, an instance of a class player start with a parent class, mobility static, with a capsule component. This is the default scene root component. It cannot be copied, renamed, or deleted. It has been inherited from the parent class, so its properties cannot be edited here. New scene components will automatically be attached to it. So two new terms, scene and component. Those are both analogous to something in Unity. There's scenes and components there. So I have to try to translate between component, actor, scene, level. So I'm kind of making a mental note of a glossary of terms here. This says collision capsule, and as I select, still not sure what to call these. I'm going to call these, I don't know whether to call them actors or not. As I select these items in this list, this view down here changes. So the player start has a transform and a tag, and it has rotation and scale. So that's what definitely feels like a game object from Unity. Networking. Wow. Okay. Wonder if that's a default. That would be interesting. I've been using some of the networking libraries in Unity, and certainly it's not baked in at this kind of level. It's sort of you have to add additional packages, etc. So that's cool. There's input attached to this. Okay. And then a capsule component. So it looks like I edit just the capsule component in C++. Let's see what happens when I do that. So over in VS 2022, I got to navigation object base. Let me try that again. So edit in C++, player start capsule component did indeed take me to this header file. Not sure why. Let's take a look at the project. Okay, so it took me within the engine folder. And the engine folder is separate from the games folder. So I would expect my game-specific logic to be in here. So let's take a look there. My first Unreal target. All right. So that edit in C++ didn't necessarily show me a lot. I'm going to remove as much as I can here to get back to a blank slate. Okay, so I'll delete the world partition minimap. It's kind of interesting that a minimap is sort of a high-level concept in Unreal. That's kind of nice. Let's get rid of it for now, if I can. Can't. So I can't get rid of that. I can't get rid of the world data layers. I can get rid of the player start. And let's see what happens when I do that. Oh, so I just hit Control S, just kind of habitual, and realized that I did not save my level. So we'll call that new map. All right, so with that player start removed, once I play this level, I'm seeing a player start showing up in this outliner in a different color, possibly to indicate that it was spawned at runtime. Maybe I would make that assumption just because it's not here during build time. Okay. Player start, which has a certain icon, player state, and player controller. So yeah, I can still use that first person controller. If my game is not first person, I know there were some other templates, so maybe it's a question of starting with one of those. Okay, so try to get rid of as much of this as possible. And I just got one little bit left. Okay, and now when I play, I can still sort of fly around like creative mode in Minecraft. Well, so this clearly is, you know, geared toward 3D, and likely what I would use Unreal for would be a 3D game. And so I think I'll leave it in 3D mode. I want to try to attach some game logic as I did in the previous tutorial, but maybe I'll do so with a 3D object. Okay, well, here we go. Quickly add to the project, and okay, so I can add a basic actor or some that have special types. So an actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. A character is a type of pawn that includes the ability to walk around, and a pawn is an actor that can be, quote, possessed and receive input from a controller. And you've got some lights, and then this class is a location where the player can spawn when the game begins. Okay. I'm going to re-add this because it seems to be necessary, and then create it at runtime if it's not present. Yeah, so here it looks like because I had a player start defined before I pressed play, it used that one. It didn't, spawn another one. But it did spawn or create some things like this controller. I noticed that capsule when the player started. So there's an interesting lighting effect there. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly add basic actor and see what that's like. Oop, it's kind of hovering there. Let's see where it's located. So location, in some kind of world units here, 80,000, 90,000. That's already these are interesting numbers to me. Well, first of all, it may be just creating it at this particular terrain location because that's the one that I had that remained. But the scale of those numbers, from a Unity perspective, these would be floats in a vector 3 in Unity, and you'll get the further out that you go from the origin, you get floating point precision errors. Okay, so I add a new component, new C++ or blueprints component. I'm gonna try C++ first. I'm more familiar with that than blueprint. And I can make it an actor component, a scene component, or some others. This will add a C++ header and source code file to your game project. Common classes or all classes? Okay. A lot of them. Actor component, let's try that. Yeah, so class type, public or private. So if I don't specify, let's see what it does. And we'll go ahead and create that class. I'm also interested to try debugging at some point, both with Godot and Unreal. With Unity, what you did was you could attach to the Unity editor from within Visual Studio. There was a menu item in the debug menu. So while it's doing that, here I've got attached Unity debugger in the Visual Studio debug menu. So I'm not sure how to do that yet with Unreal or with Godot. Okay, and I want to reload the changes in Visual Studio. And then I also got live coding. So the build triggered over here in Unreal, and in Visual Studio, I can show the output of that. I can show it side by side even. Let's see what this. Whoop. Live coding succeeded. Data type changes may cause packaging to something or other. Error. Enhanced Unreal analyzing blueprints. Enhanced Unreal Engine support requires the free Visual Studio integration tool plugin. Analyzing blueprints. Well, I didn't make any blueprints myself. Maybe there are blueprints elsewhere in this project. I'm going to see if I can ignore that for now. Although, well, okay, here we go. Here's the link to install that thing that it told me about here. Now let's just do it. Okay. Pull this over here. Oh, this looks like it might be a process. We'll save that for later, see if we can still do something. So, all right, I digress. There is a new C++ file and class after I added that component based on the name that I gave it. And let's look at the header file. This is the implementation. The header file includes some other things and has some macros. And okay, so here's kind of the bit I was curious about. So this new actor component class that it generated is based on uActor component. So just like I did with Godot, I'm going to go back up the chain here. So uActor component inherits from a uObject and an I-interface asset user data thing. So C++, also if you're familiar with C#, so C++ has multiple inheritance, so you can inherit from multiple base classes, whereas C# you can inherit from one base class and then you can implement interfaces as a sort of alternative to multiple inheritance. So I definitely have to get my mind around that again, being back in a C++ world. That uObject says this is the base class of all UE objects, but that derives from an object-based utility, which derives from an object base, and that is the all the way up the chain. Okay. So back to the new actor component. This syntax is a constructor in C++, and so here it's setting some. What value is it here? Can ever tick. Set this component to be initialized when the game starts and to be ticked every frame. You can turn these features off to improve performance if you don't need them. Okay, so I'm reading that to mean that for this component, I would like a callback every frame. Presumably, if false, this tick function will never be registered and never ticked. Okay. Wait, it says this tick function. Okay, that I'm assuming this tick function. This looks like the start method or awake in Unity, and then there's an equivalent in Godot as well. Called when the game starts. Okay, so that's slightly different, I guess, than Unity with the start. That's called when the component, the object is instantiated in the game world. And then it's calling the base class begin play, which does some stuff. Hopefully I won't need to dig back into that too much. ... probably was where my code goes. And then tick component with the float of delta time. So floats here, and was a double in Godot, I believe. Please write a C++ method for Unreal Engine to modify the position of an actor. Okay. To modify that, it assumes that this method assumes that you have access to the A actor pointer for the actor you want to modify. You can call this method in your custom class by inheriting from A actor or wherever you have access to the actor. Let's see if I inherited from A actor. So here's my component. If I go to the H file, it is an actor component, which is a uObject. I don't think it inherits from A actor. So let me ask for some clarification here. Let's see, will this work if my class inherits from... It will not be directly available because it's not an A actor, right? Okay. If you want to modify the position of an actor that owns the uActor component, you typically do this by getting a reference to the owning actor and then modifying its location. Here's how you do that. Okay. The owning actor. I'm going to look into this type, the F vector here soon. Oops. Now I'm putting some of this code into the tick component method, and I have to reflect on how and when to do some of these calls. So, if you are in Unity doing a get component call, which is going to access some component on a game object, and you're going to be using that really frequently, you may not want to use that get component call in your update method, the tick component type method. because it's just going to run every frame. So it's possible that I would want to do something similar here. So if I'm getting an owner actor, I get it in a method like this, and then maintain a reference to it. So let's start with that. Actually, no. Let's start with this, and then I'll optimize. Ensure that the owning actor exists and is valid, and then I give it a new position, which I have to define. This new pos equals f vector. Oh, that's not going to work. So yeah, again, that's C# syntax is going to creep in here. So where that implicit typing that exists in C# does not in C++. So if I'm declaring a variable, then I have to explicitly define its type, f vector. But then in this case, I'm creating a new one. I probably don't need to do that. So it would be a pointer to an f vector. Okay, so that makes that work. But the other thing I can do, I believe, is just this. So I didn't use the new operator for that. Now, this is bringing back some memories from C++. I remember a few things from it. I remember memory management, idiosyncrasies, a pointer arithmetic that got weird and caused bugs. So yeah, some scary stuff back there. The other thing I remember is a lot of frameworks, a lot of libraries, and a lot of different abstractions for very similar things. So like I tried to count up the number of times or the number of different types of abstractions of a string they had. And you had like a C string, an MFC, ATL, all these libraries, W string. Oh boy, it's too much. I want to update it based on the previous one. And so rather than do that, I will do a get actor location, old pos. Again, I'm going to do that a lot of times. Okay, old pos, new pos. Actually, I don't need to do that at all. Just do that. New pos dot new come on. Okay, so I do have that x component of that vector. And I'm going to take this opportunity to investigate the f vector a little bit. It is a template based on a double. And just I wanted to double check the range of a double. Okay, a double is 8 bytes. Range of the values. Okay, so yeah, so that's why those numbers were pretty big in the editor when I saw the position of that thing. I'm assuming that's why they're so large. I'm sure people have used Unreal for a while. I know this is probably very remedial, but yeah. So let's see. Okay, because the vectors in Unity are going to be 4 bytes, and so wow, yeah, that is a significant difference, and probably allows for, I'm going to say, some much bigger levels. I know it was definitely a concern in Unity as you started to, if you had really large levels, even if they didn't have a lot of objects in them, that you weren't processing a lot, even if you just got further and further away from the origin, you were going to risk floating point problems. So if Unreal gets around that with 8 bytes in its vectors, that's pretty cool. So I want to add on the delta time. So, I'm going to be moving this on the x-axis based on the one world unit per second, assuming that the delta time is in seconds. Set the new position of the owning actor and set the actor location and do that every frame. Let's run it and see what we get. Now, is there a way for me... I'm not going to actually see that that actor because I didn't really like put anything on it. I wonder if I can put a primitive on it to shapes. There we go. Put a cube on it. Or, oops. Put it in there. Cannot attach static actor cube to dynamic actor actor. Okay, something that I found was to find something in the content browser, which brings up this window, which I hadn't seen before in the default layout. So this looks like I can browse through some of my C++ classes, etc. So let me dock this. Cool. So, okay, so this actually gives me a visual indication of the classes I've created. And now, see where they go. Double clicking on it brings it up in Visual Studio. But it does look like you can drag it. Yeah, so here, if I drag it over here, it looks like it will, to my way of thinking, attach it to this actor. But then I'm not entirely sure where that's listed here, the attached scripts. Okay, I think I see what I was doing incorrectly. I tried to drag it onto... Oh, maybe I did do it correctly. Drag it here, and then it is attached here. That's interesting. So when I do the add thing, add that, it didn't seem to attach it right away. And then I kind of pulled it in from here. Let's save that. And then we'll give it a run and see if, so it's attached to the cube. And wait a minute, I don't want to attach that one. I want to attach this one, which I think had the code just as new. Okay, if I do it again, new one. All right. Double clicking on it, double clicking on it here brings it up there just to confirm that yes, that was the one that had this code. Hit play, and I wonder what that lighting is. Oh, is it moving? Maybe. Looks kind of like it is. Oh, see, now here's something I'm gonna need to get used to. When I hit escape, you know, in Unity, I'll do that, and you know, it will just allow me to have mouse control in the editor, so I can interrogate an object and see what it's doing while the game is running. That seems to actually stop the execution of it, so I'll have to get used to that. Also, it appears as though I've got some warnings. Mobility. Oh, okay. That's kind of helpful. So that makes sense. So this is a static mesh component, and it has to be movable if you'd like to move. If you'd like it to move. If you'd like to move. Okay. That's interesting. So then let's see how I make it movable. I'm going to go into mobility. There it is, movable. Movable objects can be moved and changed in-game. Totally dynamic. Slowest rendering, though. All right, let's try that then. Where'd it go? Okay, yeah, I believe it is moving. Are the clouds moving? Is the skybox with clouds moving? Okay. All right, that's volumetric cloud. Okay, it's like a default. How would I break mouse control if not escape? If I were... Ah, yeah, I tried backtick. That seemed to work. Okay, it's near escape. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's moving. And let's just go look at the cube. Yeah, so it's moving at a rate of about 1 world unit per second, which is what I intended. Okay, well, that's about as far as I got in the previous video, and the time's starting to run a little long, so I'll stop the video here. I realize I still need to build this as an EXE, so that's something I can try in the future. But overall, my impressions are good. I will have to get used to C++ if I'm going to use this more, but there's some intriguing things about this engine, such as the 64-bit precision in their coordinate system, and I'm interested to try some of the other templates that may showcase some of the graphical capabilities of Unreal. And then finally, I would like to see what their networking is like and compare that to Unity. So yeah, if anyone has any suggestions about another engine for me to try, I know some of you have already commented on that, so I'm happy to take a look at some more engines in this same kind of format. Thanks for sticking with me till the end of the video, and hope you have a great day.